When we are talking about luxury cars from BMW, we're talking about the 7 Series and of course even the X7 if you want something SUV-like. But this is the electric luxury car from BMW, the iX, and it is following on the footsteps of the i3 with carbon fiber chassis. Well, I'm going to do a deep dive in this facelifted iX and talk about how it is to drive, what are the updates, and of course, how does it stand compared to the competition. And what about the competitors? Well, there's the obvious Mercedes EQE, because the EQS has 7 seats possible. This does not. So this is the classic 5-seat. Then you of course have the Audi Q8 e-tron that has less options and of course less horsepower as well, depending on how you spec this car out. One of the big updates with this facelifted iX is the charging. You have now up to 22 kilowatt of AC charging and up to 195 kilowatt in this xDrive 60. There's the M70 and the xDrive 45, so they have simplified or changed the lineup slightly. In this xDrive 60 you have up to, or you have 109.1 kilowatt hour of usable battery, which should give it a claim range of 701 kilometer. Unfortunately, we have come to a bad part of this new BMW iX, and that is the rear part compared to the front, because I think that the front looks very, very well, but the rear doesn't follow with the front. Very big, very unassuming. Yes, you have some lights here and you have this very aggressive black plastic lower bumper here that's quite scratched already, but I digress. This is the xDrive 60, meaning full drive, 1 engine in the back, 1 engine in the front, giving a total power output of 544 horsepower. We'll talk about those specs a little bit later on, but now let's get into the rear storage space. We're now in the rear luggage compartment of the new iX, and before we go into the luggage compartment, we have to talk about this carbon fiber. What is that all about? Well, this has carbon fiber at many body panels or chassis panels or whatever you want to call it. So this is quite tech heavy in that regard. Doesn't use the same classic metal as other cars, and that follows the same footprint or the same footsteps as the i3. That was a very advanced electric car for its time, and I think it will be a future classic as well. What will happen with the iX, I have no idea, but we'll have to wait and see. But the rear luggage compartment here, 500 liters of usable storage space, not the best, not the worst. That is because you have such a big battery underneath everything. That makes it very, very heavy, almost 2,600 kilograms. That's a lot of weight. You have a little bit of storage underneath here with a tire reparation kit, and you can put your cables, but this is just a cover. It's not electrically operated. Quite cheap. And in the back it is very clear that this is from a ground up design, an electric vehicle, because the floor is completely flat. You do have a lot of foot space and a lot of knee space. There's a lot of space here in the back. Also on the head and towards the sides. The design, however, very unique, very special, very BMW, at least in terms of their new design language. You can see here on the sides this gray fabric, the extra option lever, and the metal that distinguishes everything. You do have an armrest here with cup holders. Quite nice, to be fair. And you can see the stitched lever here. Looks very, very good, very soft, and just increases the feel of quality. You have the extra option 4-zone climate control, and it looks very nice, a little bit nicer than a Mercedes counterpart that is as well. Should also mention that this has the extra option Bowers & Wilkins sound system for around 5,000 euros. It sounds good, but it's not on the same level of a Porsche extra option sound system. This has too much warmth, too much soft bass that is not crisp enough. Welcome to the driver's seat of the new BMW iX, and with the facelift or with the updated iX you get these sport seats. They are very huggy, but also comfortable depending on which driving mode you are in. You also have this extra option, red-brown leather, that looks particularly well. Personally, I would like some more browner leather, but this is a really nice extra option. The general design of this iX is futuristic. You have a very raised infotainment screen. You can see the big brace just behind here, and there is not a lot of storage space. So you have a lot of air here. You have cup holders and a storage space, or a space for charging your phone, and storage space here. But that is basically everything that you have apart from the sides on the doors. That's basically it. Where is the space, or the storage space? But you do have a lot of tech in this iX, which we'll talk about now. The tech, well, it's very, very deep. And what I mean by deep is the infotainment system. You have a lot of app-based design, which I think works, but can be a little bit difficult to navigate. You do have the manual controls for the infotainment system as well, but it takes quite a lot of time getting used to. At least that's for my experience. You have some buttons or haptic feedback, whatever you want to call them, for my modes to go into personal, sport, efficient, expressive, relax, digital, art, and silent. And media, telephone, and navigation. And of course, home. You see here that you have some crystals. There's also on the reverse neutral drive selector. And of course, to control the seat as well. It is on the limit of being too tacky, but BMW makes it just work. And I mean just. So this has a more relaxed, laid back demeanor to it that I was not sure about in the beginning. But after 1 week with this new iX, I must say that they have made a lot of things right. The extra option, the air suspension, the rear steering, and all of the things that you might need to make this behave the way that you want it to behave, to mask the weight of 2.6 tons. That's a huge amount, however you are putting it, and it doesn't matter how much carbon fiber you're putting into the bodywork. There are certain limitations to what you can do with a car that weighs as much as this iX does, certainly with the size of that battery. So this has the extra option M Sport package, which should give it a little bit more sportier driving credentials, but be honest, it is laid back and in some ways quite unresponsive, but it works flawlessly when you're driving it in the city, when you're switching gear, when you are using that fantastic, I would almost say phenomenal 360-degree camera system, one of the best that I've ever tested. Then you have the great head-up display, GPS that works very well. And then you have the seats, the steering wheel is thick, it's wide, and it's quiet, incredibly quiet, so much so that BMW contacted Hans Zimmer to make the acceleration noise. So let's get out of the corner here and give you some beans. I should mention a little bit about the updates. So this has new, more efficient semiconductors. What does that mean? Well, it's more efficient. So is the heat pump. It is more advanced, it's more efficient, giving it a longer range. And making it more efficient when it's colder, hotter, wherever basically. Then you have the more energy dense battery that gives this 109.1 kilowatt hour of usable battery. That is a lot of power. This has theoretically a range of 701 kilometers, and that is one of the best in class. If you're not looking at Lucid and Mercedes EQS with their low sedan, this is a big car, a SUV, and you notice it when you drive this because you have those 23-inch rims with not that much sidewall. So you have to be mindful when you are driving and parking, or at least parallel parking for those rocks or curbs, that is. X-Drive 60 starts at around 1 million Swedish kronor, which is just around 95,000 euros. That's a lot of money. That is luxury car money. So that means that BMW needs to do luxury. There is the M70 with almost 700 horsepower and the lesser spec X-Drive 45, which has around 408 horsepower. This is somewhere in the middle, delivering 544. Very decent, 0 to 100 km an hour in just under 5 seconds. But it's not the ultra-right performance, and it's not the lowest spec either. Will people buy this 60 compared to the 45? I think people will consider the 45 because it delivers basically everything that this 60 does. Press my modes and then go to sport. I don't know if you hear that, but that was the seats, the side support closing in a little bit. You can also change that through the menu, how much support you actually want. And you do feel it's a big car braking that weight. That is understeer already. So it's very, very easy to find the limits of this iX. And it's very prone to understeer. There's a lot to talk about here. So first of all, you hear there's a lot of understeer. You reach the limit fairly easy. It could be that the tires are not that grippy, they're not that sporty. They're not Michelin Pilot 4SS or 5SS or Pirelli P0s. And the lack of front grip and front tire, front stability is playing a little bit against the BMW iX favor here, especially when you're driving more aggressive. When you're driving this more relaxed, more the way it should be driven, then I completely understand BMW's setup of this car. So what are my conclusions for this BMW iX? Well, it is a love it or hate it car. The design, the price, the specifications. It is more distinct, striking than the Mercedes EQE. It does not have 7 seats such as in a Kia EV9, but you can't deny the tech underneath, the carbon fiber chassis components or the carbon fiber components in it, the soft points, the performance. It's a hefty price, this car is, but it's a love it or hate it. I am towards loving it.